Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech, Quarterback Watch, Chapter 7.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And thanks as always for making us your first listen. Today's episode brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, Mazda sweats every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. With Mazda, move and be moved. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you. And on today's episode, I want to look back to the weekend that was elsewhere in the Big 12 Conference, including a tough go-around for our next opponent, who I don't think we'll find fat and happy when we arrive in Tempe, Arizona, coming up later in the week. I also want to get to, of course, some interesting injury storylines leaving Saturday. Didn't get a whole lot into it on our reaction episode, and some of the initial assessments were positive and optimistic when it comes to Baron Morton and Gilh Howard in particular, but we'll get back to that and the latest field there coming up in just a moment. But I want to kick off our conversation with Baron Morton, Chris, and with Will Hammond, because it sort of feels like we're back in a conversation that we are semi-practiced at this season. We get some positive initial assessments regarding Morton's availability coming up this next weekend. However, we know how that can go. And, of course, even if available, at what percentage are we talking about? And this is also coming off of a day where Will Hammond, though, was not in a an easy streak kind of way at all, was still effective for you as a QB, mostly on the ground, in getting a big win and securing another conference win against Kansas. So a lot to process here, and that's why I feel like it is just the latest chapter and something we've sort of been processing ongoing, I guess, this season.
Do we want to go Scholar first or Baron first here? You tell me.
Let's go Baron first.
Okay, Baron. Okay, so it was this weird hit that everybody saw in the early second quarter. You're on about the same end of the field as there's some synergy here, unfortunately, but it's the same end of the field where he first got hurt against UAPB. So he's really demonstrative and hitting the turf, and you can just tell in pain, and you can't really see like what's going on. And he kind of gets up. There's a limp. You watch the replay of it. His ankle kind of gets turned underneath a little bit, but that was my initial thought. Is it was ankle. It's not. This is, and he wanted to go back out on the, in there, and like I was standing off to the side or whatever, and I'm watching all this play out, and he was intent to go back out there, and that was going to be what he was doing, and the doctors were like, nope. Not doing it. And so then he went into the locker room. So what you've got here, and Joey confirmed this after the game, but this is a re-aggravation or an issue with the very first injury that he suffered. And so this is a calf. There's whether it's a calf or a bone or whatever issue that I think it's extremely painful. I also have a theory because of this. So, because remember when Cam Dickey was late to pick up the blitz and Baron got kind of just lit up and it just looked awful. This one didn't look near as bad, but I think it's still healing and it's still there, but it just kind of was going to take like a special circumstance to kind of make it feel just wrong in this sense. And I guess that's exactly what happened. My theory too is that this is why I think he's not sliding feet first, because I think it's very painful. That's what you noticed when we're watching him like at Utah, and he's sliding head first. So I'm like, what are you, and Joey made a big deal about it after the Utah game during the bye week, that he was sending them videos about him sliding and all that. But I think this is still an issue from the UAPB game. I've seen the reports, the optimism that he would not miss some time. I don't know what that's going to look like this week as far as how he feels, at what level he'll be at. I would have told you as I left the stadium on Saturday night, I was fully prepared to see Will Hammond get the start. But, Cowan, this formula with Barron starting and Will finishing seems to work. So if that's what we get, I guess, okay.
We are practiced in it. Unfortunately, like I said, this is just it's sort of a luxury to feel like you've got that second option that can come in and do what he's done. But I guess that's the question sort of for me this week between these two, is that even when still technically available, I'm kind of wondering at what percentage for Barron would it be low enough to say, no, we're actually going to give Will a start, or even a lion's share maybe of the snaps, if not a start.
You are going to need both of these guys, as we've said all along. And I think Mitch Griffiths is here for a reason too. You just don't know what this is all looking like, but I'm with you. I don't know how he'll feel. I don't know exactly what the injury is. I don't know how much practice he'll be able to go through. But I'd be willing to bet that both guys will do everything they can. I mean, Joey's word after the game to his players in the locker room was obsessed. Be obsessed with this process of getting your body, whether it's treatment or hydration or fueling up or getting in the weight room or whatever, or just the preparation with the film work and all that. But you need to be obsessed with all that comes with it to get ready for next Saturday. They know what they're going to be dealing with next Saturday, but I think both players would really need to try to prepare for that they would be the starter, or that they would need to be playing the whole game or whatever, because you may get one go the distance, a combination of both, or the other go the distance. You're just not real sure what this is going to look like as we lead up into what I think is the biggest game you've had this season in Tempe coming up this weekend.
I want to get back to how that game and that matchup was impacted by this previous weekend's results for the Sun Devils in just a moment. We'll take a look at results from the Big 12. But you mentioned the name a moment ago, Gilh Howard. I mean, that is as big of a panic for me as it would be for anybody. I think he's been as impactful of a Red Raider as has been out there. I classified him as a fan favorite last week. I will not be naming a fan favorite this week, that's for sure. But hoping he can just get back in assuming that position. Chris, it sounded pretty optimistic, I guess, for him as well.
Well,
reading that right?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so initially he's in a lot of pain. We're bringing the cart out. There's an air cast out there. I mean, you're thinking, oh, man. And you could feel it, too. The air just got sucked out of the place. Like, you just got there, and I'm like, okay, it's not Mother Nature on this night. It's going to be an injury to one of your best players that just sucks the air out of the place. And it was on their first Kansas's first offensive series. Like, you just hadn't even got going, hadn't gotten your seat, and here we're dealing with this. And it just got really, really quiet. And it's because of, yes, he's really good, but it's because of who he is. He is one of the most mature, got the most street cred in that locker room. He's just one of those guys that is just a pleasure to be around, and really everybody looks to. And he's, in pregame, all the whole team's rallying around, and it's Gilh Howard it's the one that's talking to all of them. So he's just one of those guys. So guys like that, when they go down, it has more of an effect than others, just because of what he means to people, not just the player, but the person. Okay, so I'm thinking the worst when you see Aircast and you see Cart and you think, in the way he was acting, you just assume, okay, this isn't good. Well, come to find out, they x-rayed everything. There's no break. They actually let him work in the indoor a bit with one of the trainers, and we're looking at potentially trying to get back in the game, which would have been stunned. I mean, he could have pulled what was the guy that walked back into the Garden years ago out of the tunnel and the crowd went nuts? I'm losing my. Yeah, there you go. Bingo. I'm thinking like Willis Reed moment right here. He's going to walk back out here. I'm like, oh, God, here we go.
Aircast is not a good combination.
No. I thought
12 months already.
I'm thinking fracture, dislocation. I mean, just something bad. I mean, you just, your mind races. But he, so X-ray negative, nothing broken. they go to the indoor, they work him out, and just kind of deem, okay, this probably not. Let's not chance it. You don't look great. And then he comes back out there in a full uniform, and he's sweating on the forehead, I think, because he had been trying to make it work, and he just got a boot on, which means it's not broken or anything like that, or whatever. And we're finding all this out after the fact, but I'm going to say that he's listed as.
First, today's episode brought to you by Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved us came on the first play from scrimmage as Cam Dickey said, "See ya," right up the gut. 71 yards to the house for the first 71 of his 263 rushing yards on the night in a drubbing of Kansas. And when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved.
I'm going to say that he's listed as out or doubtful for this weekend, but you dodged a major bullet. You will see him again this season. I think you feel comfortable in saying that. And is it in a couple of weeks? Is it a month from now? I don't know. Or is there a chance that he's back this next week? I don't know. But I think that bullet dodge there. But this is why this also needs to be pointed out. This is why Joey and Blanche and they built what they built, and the Codys, the Gary Petersons, the John Sellers, the Dusty Wombles, the whole group that kind of kept helping with the movement here is quality depth. Because you basically bring in a previous Big 12 starter on a top 25 defense and go, okay, next man up. And it's because Sheila Wood has said all along, I have 3 starting defensive tackles. Yes, Skylar and Lee Hunter are going to be the first 2 that run out there. A.J. Holmes is a starter. There's no way around it. And then you see him record 2 sacks on one of the best quarterbacks in the conference that you'll see. And that's just what a pleasure to – and then you're bringing in last year's starter from yourself, Duda Banks. You've got Jaden Cofield, who started a bunch of games for you last year. I mean, this is just what they have talked about as far as depth goes. This is just not something you've been fortunate enough to have around here. And it's same can be said about Will Hammond and going in for Barron. So Will Hammond and A.J. Holmes come in, and you're like, okay, we can make that work, and you did. But thankfully, Skylar, I think, is going to be okay. But yeah, I mean, you just don't know when adversity is going to hit, man, and it comes in a variety of different ways. It was the injury bug on Saturday night a little bit, and you had to push through and deal with some of that.
I thought Jaden Cofield was one of those guys that really answered the call. He was flashing a lot, I thought, as the game went on, which is no surprise because he was doing a lot of that last year. But, yeah, it's great to see, even though you don't like the way that you were forced to utilize it, but great to see the depth that is available when necessary. And, Chris, just before we move on, I felt like he came out of it, aside from these 2 big ones we're discussing here, mostly clean. And I'm thinking about some of those guys that had interesting weeks last week as far as availability reports, like Jacob Rodriguez or Howard Sampson or maybe even Terrence Carter. Anything we even need to touch on there, because certainly did not look worse for the wear.
No, as we reported on the broadcasts, there were. They both, Howard Sampson played and Jacob Rodriguez played. You were prepared to, if Jacob couldn't finish, or if he couldn't have played as the week went along, and you realized that you were preparing for Brock Goldwas to play, and if needed, at one of those interior linebacker spots, and the same thing for Howard Sampson, and you were just going to move Will Jados over to left tackle, which is where he played for 3 years at Miami of Ohio. And then I think you were going to move Cash Cleveland into guard, or put Cash Cleveland in at center and move Sheridan Wilson over to guard, as they try to preserve the possibility of Hunter Zambrano getting a red shirt. They're just going to be very careful with pushing that button on needing, maybe trying to save the year with Hunter Zambrano. So, I think both good guys got out clean, and I think you're good to go. But there were no other issue that I was aware of. Doesn't mean that there wasn't one, but I certainly wasn't aware of it.
Okay, before we get out of here today, Chris, let's look back to the Big 12 weekend, and we'll get to, of course, what we're going to see upcoming from the Sun Devils. You've got 3 3-0 teams in Texas Tech, BYU, and Cincinnati right now. What we're talking about with Utah or Arizona State just to follow behind that. But some interesting results from the weekend as BYU remains unbeaten, takes some overtime action to do that over Arizona. Colorado jumps up and bites from Boulder, Iowa State 24-17. K-State over Texas Christian. And, of course, the most, I think, eye-popping, certainly for Red Raiders, I know, was the late-night action from Salt Lake City. Just a pitiful showing. Who gets beat in Salt Lake City, especially like a redheaded stepchild? Pathetic. Utes over Sun Devils. Unfortunately, as I was discussing on the post-game patio report, this is not what I wanted for our opponent the week prior. I was hoping fat and happy. We're feeling good about everything, but Kenny Dillingham is going to have their full attention this week. You better believe that. So what'd you make of either the Sun Devil result or anything else that stood out to you from the Big 12 this weekend?
Yeah, I'll save Arizona State for last year, but I thought it was, Kansas State now, okay, it shows a little life. They've got a bye week, and then they play Kansas. If they beat Kansas, you're going to play a Kansas State team that is now – I think you'd want Kansas to win that game in a couple weeks because I think that gives Kansas State their third loss and they're officially just like out, and all hope is lost. TCU gets a loss there. I think Colorado upsetting Iowa State was interesting in Boulder. Cincinnati continues to show some consistency, and this was a game that they probably were looking, we've had 2 emotional weeks, and we got an early kick against a team that's not great. They kind of just grind out a win over UCF. BYU just continues to live the charm life, man. They just keep figuring out ways. It's not necessarily pretty. But here's let me go through the schedule for you for BYU. So they play Utah this weekend. Hello. They play Iowa State the next weekend. They play Texas Tech the weekend after that. Then they play TCU, and then they play Cincinnati. They've got – if they win all 5 of those – then they'll be top 3 or 4 in the country, and they should be. But they could easily lose 3 of those. That holy war coming up this weekend going to be quite fascinating, I think. And the good news is somebody's got to lose it. But BYU is still, they just continue to figure out a way with number 47, the freshman quarterback, Bear Buckmeyer. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else that stuck out to me over the weekend, Big 12-wise, before I guess not. And then we get to the Arizona State game. Okay, so here's what has happened. I'm strongly led to believe by folks that would. I think they made a decision to hold Sam Levitt out. He apparently sprained his foot back several weeks ago. He's been dealing with it. I think it's been just kind of flaring up. I think that there's some thought that Kenny Dillingham looked at this 2-game stretch and was like, hey, it's going to be difficult for us to go up and win in Salt Lake. Let's just be smart with our quarterback here, and let's sit him down. I fully expect to see Sam Levitt this weekend in Tempe. There's not a doubt in my mind that he's going to be under center playing quarterback for Arizona State this weekend. And they're flawed. You saw it. Utah in a weird weather night. It was rainy. Fans left. It was kind of cold, but Utah did their thing. So your win over them just continues to look that much more impressive because they basically steamrolled everybody that they've played with the exception of you. And you'll deal with an Arizona State team. Here's the dynamic here. This is how, in my opinion, each coach will play the motivational card. Kenny Dillingham is gonna back against the wall. It's our crown. Defend your home turf. This is the game you've been waiting for. They're coming to try to take what is yours. We held out Sam to I don't know how they would say that internally or how they played it or if that's even real or not, but that's just what I think is to be the case. And then Joey's over here going. And plus, Kenny Dillingham can say, hey, man, these guys beat you last year. They beat you. Yes, you went to the playoff. Yes, you won the league championship, but they beat you head to head. Whereas Joey is going to be sitting here saying they have what you want. We collected this team and put this team together to beat this particular team. They held their quarterback out and saved him just for you. This is another tough road test. This is the one. I don't. But that it's just interesting. But Kenny Dillingham, he'll get the best out of his guys this week. Make no mistake. They are flawed, as we know. You've got some flaws yourself, but this is going to be And I was a bit surprised to see the.
First, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet only $5, and if your bet hits, you're getting $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. Any way you like it, FanDuel has you covered, and it's quick, easy, and secure every time. Ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Today's episode brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all the money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it can be easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. You're going to love the all-in-one convenience. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money today. Use our code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com and our code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year.
I was a bit surprised to see it opened up as and it may have changed a bit since, but this is the last one I saw, was like you're a 10.5 point favorite. I don't know if that's Sam Levitt related, if that is Baron Morton related. I don't know, or if that's just, it doesn't matter. We think this team is that much better than the other one. I don't know. But you'll go against, if Levitt plays, and I think he will, that's an NFL quarterback. He was first round mocked up preseason. This is the offensive player of the year in the preseason, and Jordan Tyson. He's going to be a first-round draft pick. He's the first wide receiver off the board on every mock you go look at. They've got an NFL-type tight end. They have ably replaced, production-wise, Cam Skattebo with the Brown kid, although they're missing some identity and swagger, I think, that Cam Skattebo provided. But defensively, they're going to be kind of like Kansas in the sense that there's not any freaks on that side of the ball. They're just solid everywhere. But you'll get the best out of them at home. I firmly believe that. So this is what we're staring at this weekend, and I guess we've got all week to talk about it.
Yeah, I was a little surprised to see that number and didn't know necessarily what it's related to, but maybe the wise guys need to take a listen to this edition of Locked On Texas Tech for some thoughts on the Arizona State QB, because I also was wondering if we were, and of course, watching the game Saturday night at the Jones, I'm thinking, are we en route toward a backup versus backup matchup in Tempe or not? And kind of sounds like Chris Level's setting us straight to begin the week on what to expect. Don't fall for it. Don't fall into the trap this week.
Yeah, and I don't know what he'll be listed at all week. I'm not going for it. He will play. I firmly believe that.
All right, good to know. And that's why I contact you daily for 30 minutes of Red Raider conversation that we do decide to share with the public. So good for you guys as well. Chris, I appreciate your insight and the time. As always, my man, going to be a fun week as we get ready for the biggest of the big so far from Tempe, Arizona, coming up on Saturday. So we'll see you for the next one.
Yeah, we love you all, man. To the everydayers that said hello to me, walking to the stadium, standing on the field during pregame and all that stuff, we appreciate it. It's great to see some of you talk with a lot of you. I know, Calvin, you experience the same thing, and we certainly appreciate it. And halfway there, man, 6-0. We'll see what's next, as the head coach says. Maybe you'll get a coach that won't complain about stuff that has nothing to do with football this week, because I do like Kenny Dillingham. I want to like Kenny Dillingham. I just don't want to like him for the 3 hours coming up or 3.5 hours coming up this particular Saturday. But see, he wouldn't roll and be a punk like that. I don't think so. Here we go.
I don't know. He is an insane individual, and
I'm here for it. Yeah,
for all those insane reasons,
yeah.
And especially with losing Mike Gundy, we need we got a little bit of an insanity deficit in a way, so we need some of that stuff. Dillingham providing one of the most insane college football scenes I've ever seen. Just a year ago when he's surrounded by all the fans and going ballistic on the officials after the review. That was just an only in college sports kind of moment.
Because you know what I like about Kenny Dillingham? When he came to Lubbock, Texas, he paid a lot of respect to this environment. In fact, he said, I wish our place was like this. This is what we need to be. So,
well, I hope they didn't get the message.
I know. That's true. That's true. But yeah.
Well, we got a long time to get ready for it as we roll through this week. So we'll, of course, dip into the matchup and continue to reflect on some things that went down Saturday for the good guys. Chris, appreciate you. And, of course, appreciate everybody out there for the time. Get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. Thanks to those everydayers for always riding along. And the Matador Mob, hit our show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial. If you're interested in joining that crew, that's your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one text sent straight to your phone. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks as always for the time. We hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.